Welcome into Sports Memo Podcast Monday morning edition, the day after the Super Bowl with Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome in the pod. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right today, Drew. How about yourself, man? How's the hangover treating you? That was your first Super Bowl in Vegas, right?
First Super Bowl in Vegas, bounced around a couple different sports books, live atmosphere, Teddy. It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think I would rather be in Vegas for Super Bowl than at the game itself. I mean, the game itself, sure, you get to get in the venue and people are nuts, but you don't get replays the same way, You don't get your box score in front of you. Vegas Super Bowl week is something special. Super Bowl weekend, I mean, you experienced it yesterday, Drew. It really is a lot of fun, and it's an atmosphere that's second to none. So if you're out there in viewerland and thinking about it, put that on your bucket list. You want to be in Vegas for a final? I think the opening weekend is better than the Final Four, without a shadow of a doubt. The opening weekend of the NCAA tournament and Super Bowl weekend are two must-do events in Vegas once before you die.
Yeah, I mean, the Super Bowl, this town is electric. I've never felt like a city, as electric as Vegas is in the, 5 months that I've lived here. But yesterday for sure was like next level, man. There was a lot going on. The sports book was electric, Teddy. It was pretty wild to be a part of. And I agree with you. I've been to a Super Bowl before, working at it. Actually, the last time it was in Miami, and it was enjoyable to an extent, but not like Vegas, man. Vegas is a party, and people are really getting after it. Whereas at the game, it's more of like a little bit more corporate feel. Vegas isn't a corporate feel at all.
No, Vegas is a fun feel. So I'm glad you had a good. I mean, I've kept it real mellow yesterday. I didn't. I've been out and about Super Bowl Sunday, and now that I'm an old guy, I'm like, all right, we'll have a couple of friends over at the house and watch the props real closely and be able to time the national anthem and all that kind of stuff. But certainly. It's an absolute bucket list event, and it's not just a sports book. I mean, the whole town is just jamming. The clubs are jamming, and the casinos are jamming, and there's an energy here that you legitimately feel. It pulses through you in a way that I can't even imagine on the big game itself in venue. That it's quite the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you, Teddy. And guys, we're going to be breaking down the props, the finish here at the Super Bowl, get Teddy's opinion. Also touch on a little NBA looking forward, because this time slot going forward, we're going to be touching on NBA, also football, both NFL and NCAA football going forward. Plus, get a little look towards next year's NFL and what Teddy's thinking in terms of who's going to win the Super Bowl, any value on any teams, and start to look ahead towards season wins in the NFL. But Teddy, looking back at yesterday's game, overall, I lost on the 49ers plus 1.5 props. Slight loss, I believe. Hit some good ones that I'm proud of, and then also, gave some back in others. Overall, an entertaining day, slightly down. But what about you, man? How'd you do, and what'd you think about overall the betting landscape of the Super Bowl?
So the clients and I cashed with the Chiefs. It certainly wasn't a right side. It wasn't a wrong side. It felt like a coin flip game all week, and it ended up being, and my end result was that I thought Mahomes. I'm like, I don't want to bet against the Michael Jordan of the NFL, and that really what it came down to was Mahomes made. And if you watch the game in the fourth quarter, game on the line, Mahomes made the plays and Jimmy G didn't. I mean, and everyone's playing. Shanahan did this and Shanahan did that. He's an easy scapegoat. I didn't think. I mean, and of course. You watch the play calling real closely, because this happened the last time Shanahan was in the Super Bowl. I didn't argue with one play call for San Francisco down the street. Not one. It wasn't like, okay, well, this one time, we should have thrown there instead of running, or he should have run there instead of, you can make those arguments. There wasn't any egregious mistakes, like the egregious mistake when they got in field goal range, when the Falcons were in field goal range against the Patriots, and they dropped back to pass the next play and got sacked and got knocked out of field goal range, which happened twice on 2 consecutive drives. In the loss to the Patriots. So I'm not looking at Shanahan choke this one away. I'm looking at the best player in the NFL made the plays down the stretch, and the lesser of the two quarterbacks couldn't match him. And look, I mean, Garoppolo had Sanders open for what might have been the game-winning touchdown after the score was 24-20. And there was 2 third down, but it was 3rd and 15, and Tyreek Hill catches the 44-yarder, stays under longest pass play of the game, 44.5 yards. That's brutal. And Hill got 44. I forget if that was the longest pass of the game or the longest pass from Mahomes, but I know that Garoppolo's was shorter anyway. But yeah, finished with 44. But that was the 3rd and 15. That if it's 4th down there, KC might have to go for it.
Yeah, not too much time left.
No. They were under 7 minutes and they were down 2 scores. With the 3rd and 15 to Tyreek Hill, and then it was the 3rd and long that Garoppolo missed Sanders, that made him have to punt back. So I mean, those were if you're talking about the 2 key plays of the game, it was those 2 plays, those 2 third downs. The Chiefs connected on theirs, so Mahomes hit his receiver, and Garoppolo didn't hit his receiver, and that was the biggest inflection points in the game. But I mean, I had KC, and at no point did I feel good about that the Chiefs, until Damian Williams scored that last touchdown, which of course killed all the Niners teasers, and killed any of the big, the Niners teasers died on that. That was a pretty big touchdown, and of course it killed a lot of stuff when it came to if you teased the over, it made the over good. In that contest, it killed all the alternate totals. It gave you a plus 300 on KC minus 10.5.
The total came in play too.
You
scored that touchdown.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was so much with that we can go through. From my prop standpoint, it was a little bit frustrating. I got to say. I mean, we didn't have a bad day on the props, but I could have had a monster day on the props because my concepts were right. Let's start with Damian Williams. Damian Williams got targeted 4 times in the first quarter, didn't catch any of them, and then he finished a half completion short and a half yard short of his passing attempts. We got 4 completions at him over 4.5. If you bet it early, you got 3.5 on that. Over 29.5 receiving yards, he got to 29. That to me was really frustrating. Losing those 2 Williams props for the clients. If you bet them early, you could have cashed both of those, and that frustrated me as well. But I expected the Chiefs to be forced to dump off the ball, and then that handicap was correct. Williams just didn't catch all the passes and didn't get, finished a half completion, half yard short. I had Garoppolo over attempts and passing yards, and of course the last touchdown, Garoppolo was sitting at 29 pass attempts. KC's got the ball, they get a first down, they take a knee. And Garoppolo stays at 29, but Williams busts the touchdown, and now Garoppolo goes over because of that, because the 49ers get the ball back.
I didn't realize that.
Ended up going over the pass. I was so, because if you remember, there was a pass attempt on the 4th down that he passed? There was a pass that ended up being, he got called in the grasp. Yeah, it was on the 4th down play that and he was ruled in the grasp before he threw the ball, because if he throws the ball there, he's at 30, you don't have to sweat what happened to the last drive for KC. He gets over 29.5, but he didn't. It was ruled that he was in the grasp, which meant he was at 29 attempts, which means that you needed the Chiefs touchdown to get San Fran back on the field, which we got. So we got Garoppolo over attempts, and I knew he was going to have to throw the ball. He didn't get the over passing yards, which was frustrating because, the handicap of the game that San Fran's got to chuck the football, they're going to be aggressive, was spot on, but we split with the Garoppolo. I thought they were going to target Deebo Samuels a bunch, and they did, but he kept on catching these short passes. He went over receptions, but he went under yardage. I have him over yardage. And he went over rushing yards on the 3rd play of the game. And I threw that out. I was so mad at myself. I wrote up all the unders. I'm like, no score first 5 minutes, no score first 5.5, no score first 6, no 6.5, 7. I had it all written up. And I deleted it right before I put it out. I'm like, I think San Fran's going to come out aggressive, and I'm not going to put that out. And of course, no score first 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, and 7 all came through because of the penalty on the last, which gave San Fran an extra play before they kicked the field goal to go up 3-0, which was just after the 7-minute mark. It was 2 or 3 seconds you got because of a penalty that made the 7-minute come through. And that was a plus price on that. So I'm disappointed that I didn't give that to the clients, because that was one that I really liked and wrote up, and then I cut it out at the last minute. But I thought Deebo would be targeted. He was targeted. He just didn't go over. The total punts under, I talked about that a lot.
Oh, yeah, nice call.
They punted the first time in the game, and they both finished with 2 punts each. So
I thought it was going down after, the Chiefs punted real early. I'm like,
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. As soon as the Chiefs punted, I'm like, okay, there's one.
Right away too. There was a minute off the clock,
and then there wasn't another punt. Was it the 4th quarter for the next punt? I mean, it was a long time before there was a punt, And the game played out like I thought it was going to, which was the long, time-consuming drives, and the defenses that weren't getting stops. I mean, from a handicapping standpoint, I really thought I got a lot right in this game, and my props probably should have been better as a result. But anyhow, we cashed the under 7.5 total punts with ease. That we cashed the under 2.5 players with a pass attempt, and that was a sweat and a half. You remember that when they on the very first Niners drive, they handed it to Debo, and he was about to throw,
but he didn't throw it. Right,
and that was the only time all game that it looked like someone else was going to throw. But that was my heart was like, oh, because I laid minus 150 with that. I told the clients to do that. I'm like, oh, as soon as Debo was. I'm like, go.
Yeah. Well, why'd you bet that one with 2 weeks to prepare? I don't know. I felt like both teams would draw something up. That's why I stayed away from that.
Okay. I was very confident that the only person Andy Reid was going to have throw a pass in this game was Patrick Mahomes. And you look at KC's season, and they had a fake punt. I think there was one receiver pass. In the Super Bowl, Reid was going to go with this guy. So I was very confident that Kansas City was only going to have one player throw. So the question is San Fran going to use the trickery? Is that going to happen? And when you went through this, the Niners 18 games this year, they had 2 pass attempts from someone that wasn't Garoppolo. It's not like something that they did on the regular. Sanders and Pettis had both thrown one on a trick play. I thought the biggest fear would be a quarterback injury. I really didn't see either team taking that type of a chance in a game where they didn't need to. So I thought the 150 was reasonable. And it was, even though it was an early sweat. After the early sweat, it was no sweat at all. Zion Williamson points against the Rockets versus Raheem Mostert carries. Who takes Zion? That's one that I don't know if everyone able to find. That was on the prop report. That one worked out just fine. They played up tempo against the Rockets. They covered for 47 minutes of that game and didn't cover the 48th. Unfortunately, we had a little play on the Pelicans yesterday, plus the points. But Zion got his job done. He got 21, and we knew that Mostert wasn't going to get the carries like he did in the and we knew that line was inflated, and so we cashed on that one. So overall, it was an okay day for the props. We made a little bit of money, but I felt like with the read that I had on the game, I should have made more with the props. I'm a little bit disappointed with the result.
It's all right, man. More winners than losers. Take it every time.
I'm not going to complain. We made money yesterday, and I never complain. You complain off a money-making day, but it was what we do. But in terms of how I thought the game was going to play out, it played out that way. And when it actually plays out the way you think it's going to play out, in terms of the length of the drives and the types of the plays that are being successful, I felt like I should have had a better day of the props that I did. Again, we made a little bit of money, but I should have made a lot of money yesterday. And I'll take a little bit. I'm not going to complain, but it could have been better.
Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_covers each and every Monday here on the Sports Memo Betting Podcast. Guys, special coupon for this podcast. We got Teddy 999. That's TEDDY 999 for $1,000 off of his 1 year all access, a 1 day deal here, guys, 24 hours. It is available. You will get all of his plays in every sport for 1 year till the day after the Super Bowl next year. You're good them all for under $1,000, $1,000 off the retail price at sportsmemo.com. Teddy 999 at checkout. Teddy, let's talk about next year's NFL. We got
hang on a second though. Did you just give away a full year for like $80 a month? Every play,
man. It's not my choice, Teddy.
All I'm going to say is that if you want to get involved, that's a good deal. All right, you're not going to. I don't know. You're going to get a better deal than every play that I have for the next year with write-ups and analysis and no more to buy than $9.99 for the year. That's cheap. I don't even like it, but and whatever, win or lose, I work hard. I do. That's cheap, man. That's a good deal. So if you take advantage, that's all I'm going to say. If you're interested, take advantage.
And the coupon code is Teddy999 at checkout. 57% in the NBA since Christmas. So NBA's been hot, and obviously his NFL 5 years running 57% in the last 8 weeks here. Hit 69%. You'll get all of his NFL for next season. Don't have to worry about that through the Super Bowl. Teddy999 at checkout. Teddy, I got the MGM numbers right in front of me, and
I got the Westgate numbers. So let's go. Let's see what we got.
Well, let's get after it. Talking about Kansas City looks like leading the charge here, 7-1. San Francisco right behind them. Is that something normal? You know, the two Super Bowl teams right at the top for next year's futures. Also, something I got circled here: Las Vegas Raiders, man.
That's the first time you see it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Where's Oakland? Oh, LV. Yeah, that's us.
All right.
Now we call them us because they're the Vegas team.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me talk about this right off the get-go. There's no way I'm putting any of my money down on any of these NFL futures right now, because the lines you see here, you're going to be able to get them 3 months from now. You're going to be able to get them 5 months from now. Most of these lines between now and the start of the regular season, you might see a 50-1 become 40-1, but between now and August, you'll see a little flurry. Then these numbers will stay pretty stale. And of course, even though this was not a good year for the NFL season wins, when we talk about season wins come spring and summer, I'll explain everything that happened and why it was a crappy year and all that. I don't want to go on and on that right now, but it's nothing that I feel is like there wasn't a fundamental flaw in my process last year. I just made some wrong choices. The NFL season wins continue to be the better bet and will continue to be a better bet. It allows you to bet on or against teams. And of course, we talk about the future book. Only one of the 32 teams is going to cash. That said, when we look at the very first openers, just gives us an idea of where teams are power rated and where the books have teams power rated going into the offseason. And there were 5 teams that stood out to me as relative long shots that might be live going into next year. And I want to talk about those 5 teams. And again, the last thing I'm going to do is the Chiefs at 5-1, or the Ravens at 8-1, or the Niners at 8-1, or the Saints at 10-1. If you're going to put money down that you're not going to cash for a year, you have to be looking at long shots. You have to be looking at live long shots. So, of the 5 teams that stood out to me, and again, it doesn't get me earlier in the process in this because there's been no free agency and no draft.
It's impossible.
So this is all just gut reaction right from the get-go. I'll start with the shortest shots. There's 2 of them. Philly and Seattle are both 20-1. The Eagles, they need receiver help. They need secondary help. I think they're capable of getting help in those 2 areas. The rest of that roster is Super Bowl worthy. Seattle, too, has a Super Bowl worthy roster with relatively reasonable holes to fill. 20-1, I thought, for both those teams. I'm like, hey, they're live in that range. All right.
Okay. There's 3 left, right?
There are 3 left. I'm going to go to the 80-1 on the Jets. Okay. Laugh now. Exactly. That's your reaction. That's beautiful. That's supposed. I'm
not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
I know. The Jets are the long shot of the group. Okay. I've seen enough from Sam Darnold that I believe in the guy. Okay. The Jets' defense is not riddled with holes. The Jets are not a team that has 500 holes to fill anymore. Okay. They're a team with, like the Eagles, a couple of position groups. Jets are live to make a big jump next year. And I'll tell you flat out, if I see that, I'm expecting to see the Jets lined at 7 or 7.5 wins or something like that. It's not a good division. Patriots aren't going in the right direction.
Question marks in New England. You're right.
I like the upside of the Jets a lot. And again, 80-1, it's not a great, but I started at the bottom and worked my way up. And I'm like, the Jets could do something next year. 80-1, you want an 80-1 shot there, they have a quarterback, they have a coach, they have a roster. They're not rebuilding. They're not rebuilding from square one or anything even close to that. I thought Tampa at 60-1 is worthy of a look. It's not like their defense was much better than expected this year. Their offense only lacked a quarterback who didn't turn the ball over 500 times, and I expect them to have better QB play next year. And Arians is, maybe he's the Andy Reid. So I thought Tampa at 60-1 might be a live team for 2020. And last, but not least, and I'm keeping the Browns off the list. I had to keep the Browns off the list. The Texans at 40-1. Houston's not far. They weren't far away from the promised land this year. Again, you have a quarterback we trust. You have a passing game we trust. You have an offensive line that is likely to be better. You have a defense that can make plays. You have a playoff team in Houston at 40-1. That number stood out to me as, amongst the teams that are there with them, the Chargers, the Colts, the Titans, the Bills, the Raiders. Texas is the best team out of that bunch, and it's not even close. So I thought Houston at 40-1 again at first glance, and most importantly, I didn't take $1 out of my pocket to bet any of these, but at first glance, those were the 5 that stood out to me, and maybe the Browns at 30-1. I don't know. That would be the 6th of the group that would, Cleveland again. The talent and the personnel is there, but this season was such a disaster, and I don't know that I want Baker Mayfield at that price is what I want, because Mayfield, I mean, you talk about a quarterback that regressed in his second season. He regressed like Rick Myrer regressed in his second season. There's a blast from the past for you, Drew. Yeah. Yes, Myrer won Rookie of the Year award and then was the worst quarterback in the league for like the next 5 years before he was out of football. Not to say that Baker Mayfield's going to be out of football and be the worst quarterback in the NFL, but he had a promising rookie season and he was not good last year. So we'll see if he gets better.
Anyhow, I don't know. He's one of those guys, Teddy. I don't think his kind of skill set sets up well for NFL success. I think it's really good for college, but I just don't think it translates well to the NFL. I'm not looking to bet on him either.
I'm just saying that the Browns have a lot of talent for a 30-1 team. And that's, again, this is all first glance, first gut. What I do at the end of the regular season, I have my final power range, and I don't even adjust them in the playoffs.
Okay. And
then I'll make one adjustment post-draft / free agency, and that's it between now and preseason. I'll make one big, big adjustment. I might adjust team up a couple of points or down a couple of points, but I'm not moving teams 5 points off what they did in free agency and the draft, unless it's something extraordinary, or it was a really good team that got riddled with injuries the year before and now they're going to be good. The adjustments tend to be fairly modest in that regard. And of course the offseason hype is enormous. Where everyone, that team's going to be way better, this team's going to be way worse. And once the schedule comes out, that's when we really start to work on season wins in a real way, because then we have an idea, not just of who they're playing, but the nuances of the schedule, which matter so much in the NFL.
Teddy, let me throw like 3 or 4 teams at you, get your quick opinion, just because I had them circled going in. Chicago Bears, really good defense. I felt like, the end of the season kind of went against them just because, it's kind of the way that the season went with their defense not performing as well at the end. But I think that they have the talent there. If, who knows? I've heard Tom Brady, Cam Newton, if they land one of these top quarterbacks, what about taking a shot with the Chicago Bears to win, take futures there?
I wasn't particularly excited about Chicago in the future market. And I mean, Trubisky's going to be back and he's going to be their starting quarterback. Okay. They're not trading Trubisky. Trubisky gets another year before they bail on him. Okay. And that means Brady's not going to Chicago, and honestly, I mean, I hate to say this publicly, but I think now's the time to say it, So I was talking with a Raiders, a buddy of mine who's a big Raiders fan. And I'm like, hey, the rumor, Brady bought a house in Vegas. Rumor he's going to be, how do you, he's like, please, no, God, no. Derek Carr right now is better than Brady. And I'd rather draft Tua than go with Brady. I'd rather draft anyone than go with Brady. I kind of agree with that assessment. If Tom Brady ends up somewhere, he's a 43-year-old tired retread quarterback playing in a new system and a new time for his first career. That team's power rating doesn't go up. Okay. Nuh-uh.
Okay. Well, what about the Las Vegas Raiders then? I'm seeing them at 30-1 at MGM. Do you have any opinion on the Raiders for next year?
There's still a lot of holes in Oakland, and there's a lot of holes in Chicago. When you talk about personnel, for both these teams. When I'm talking about a team that was good, but they maybe needed, like I was talking about the Eagles. I'm like, the Eagles get help at receiver. They get help in the secondary. And the rest of the roster is Super Bowl caliber. I don't look at Chicago that way. That defense took a big step back this year. They had offensive line issues. The receiving core wasn't that good. The skills and talent didn't step up, and they have quarterback issues. With Oakland, there's a lot of holes on, we still don't, at this stage, I still don't know if Carr's any good. We're 5 years into his career or whatever. I still don't know. Is this a quarterback you can work with? I don't know. Okay. At times, but they don't have any receivers. They have issues on the defensive line. They have issues in the secondary. The Raiders, in my mind, are still, like the Bears, probably still a year or two away. They need 2 good off seasons. One is not going to be enough.
What about the Atlanta Falcons? I'm seeing them at 30-1 at MGM.
Yeah, and honestly, the Falcons of this grouping they're not a team I would talk you out of. They're really not. And just to look real quick.
Just because the quarterback position we've seen. What's that?
For what it's worth. Yeah, I got the Westgate numbers here. KC 5-1, Baltimore, San Fran 8-1, New Orleans 10-1, Dallas 12-1, New England 14-1, Pittsburgh 16-1, Philly, Green Bay, Seattle 20-1, the Rams, Bears, Vikings 25-1, Browns 30-1, Chargers, Colts, Texans, Titans, Bills, and Raiders at 40-1, Falcons at 50-1, Broncos and Bucks at 60-1, Jets, Cards, Giants, and Lions at 80-1. Jags, Panthers, Bengals, and Miami at 100-1. Anyone wants any of those teams, I'll book it and give it 110-1. And the Redskins at 200-1.
Yeah, I like how they put the Redskins at 200-1 and the other group at 100-1. Like, it really makes a difference. Teddy, I also shout out to the Westgate, I guess, in taking away something from the MGM. All of those you read were more value at the Westgate than at MGM.
That's why I wanted to give Westgate numbers. And again, I don't play favorites with books. Okay. When it comes down to books, it's who's going to give me a better number, and that's all I'm interested in. And in general, in the future prices, you'll find better numbers at the Westgate, and you'll find much less of a house takeout at the Westgate. In general, there may be exceptions, but I prefer to give their numbers. The house takeout on a lot of these, again, when there's 32 teams, only one of them's going to win. The house takeout's pretty good to begin with. When they're not offering real value back on that team that actually wins, sometimes you're laying 2-1, minus 180 on these, and I don't like to lay that.
Yeah. Overall, it's not a smart bet. I mean, depending what sportsbook, it's up near 40% takeout, whereas that's a long way off from the minus 110 number.
Yeah,
are trying to beat. So this is an uphill battle betting the futures. Season win totals, though, Teddy, when do those usually come out, and which sports books lead them?
So the last couple of years, we've seen numbers in February. I don't know if we'll see numbers in February this year. Offshore usually leads, but
that's been changing in other markets here.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that it's whereas the U.S. marketplace was really behind the offshore marketplace in terms of offering options because we didn't have to. Now the competition is such that you kind of have to. But the first season win totals, I don't even like to bet them because I don't want to send the markets moving in the wrong. I don't want to give them and it's not a mature market, and you start betting heavy into not mature markets, and you affect the whole marketplace, and that's not what I want to do. So we'll have the season win report next year in July. I would expect, if the market's mature in June, maybe we'll put out in June this year. I'd love to be able to do that. And maybe it'll come, but my win report won't come out till this summer. And now I forget the question I was trying to answer. I got lost. The Monday after the Super Bowl, sometimes it's hard, dude.
You're like starting over Monday. There's a lot of people missing work today, Teddy. So I think people can give us a little bit of a pass here on that. But no, great breakdown in terms of next year's futures. We got a look back at the props. Guys, we're going to be doing this podcast each and every Monday with Teddy Covers here on the Sports Memo Betting Podcast. We got the coupon code Teddy999 at checkout. That's $1,000 off. His 1-year all access is only available for the next 24 hours. Teddy999 at checkout. You'll get every play and every sporty releases with analysis that includes the Super Bowl prop report. It includes the season win totals with analysis, all of that for just $99 or $999. Teddy999 at checkout for his 1-year all access at sportsmemo.com. He's got his free play up there tonight in the NBA. Orlando Magic, Charlotte Hornets. We got NBA action going as well as college basketball. Teddy, we got XFL coming up as well. I'll throw it over to you, man. Is there anything else you wanted to throw out there before we shut this down?
Well, the important thing that people need to know, of course, the NFL Opening Line Report podcast, we do it all football season. Are we still going to call it the NFL Opening Line Report podcast in the
I don't know, guys, in the comments on Twitter at Teddy_covers at Drew Martin Bets. Let us know what you want the title of this time slot for the podcast to be called.
Absolutely. But so what we plan on doing moving forward, every Monday, Drew and I will get together like we've done all football season. We'll talk a little bit of NBA. We'll do a little stock watch. We'll break down the games for the day in the NBA. But we're going to continue the focus on football all spring and summer as we do this. As lines come out, as future books come out, as win totals come out, we'll bring them up and we'll talk about them. So we'll talk, we'll focus on NBA on a week in, week out basis, but we will absolutely keep football on center stage with our Monday podcast moving forward. And it's been a fun football season, Drew. I really enjoyed it. I want to thank everybody, dude. This podcast has blown up I've been doing the opening line report in Vegas in one form or another, I think since 2005 or 2006 was when I started doing it back in the day on ESPN radio here in town. And this year, literally, I've been doing it every year straight through. Got more feedback, more buzz. It blew up finally, it blew up this year in a way that it is really exciting. And we'd like to continue that. So stick around. Thanks for watching. And we'll do it again next week.
Absolutely, Teddy. I couldn't second that anymore. The growth of this podcast. Really appreciate it, guys. Ran into a couple guys yesterday, Teddy, and they were like, "Hey, Drew, we watch your opening line report with Teddy Covers." I love when people can come say hi and say that kind of stuff here in Vegas. So if you're ever in town, hit us up on Twitter, guys. Love that kind of interaction and any feedback whatsoever, what you're looking to hear. We're definitely open to that. So, Teddy, I feel you chomping at the bit. Go ahead, man.
No, the last thing, Aaron, I know Aaron asked us a question last week, and we came just after we went on air, and I didn't answer it.
Okay.
And it was a good question, I thought, or maybe it wasn't a good question, but I remember he answered it. And Aaron's been so good at sending questions every week, so I just wanted to bring it up if you can find it.
I'm not going to be able to find it for the sake of good content by the end. So.
Oh, hang on. So help me God, I'll find it. When did he send it? It is a ways back, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. We'll get it next week, man.
I will. We'll answer your question. I don't even remember what it was now. But we really appreciate the questions, the comments, the feedback, the likes. Thank you. And we'll answer them again. We'll answer any question you got, with the exception of Aaron's question from last week. That's now going to sit for another week. So cheers. We appreciate it. Good luck tonight. And that's it.
Well said, Teddy. Each and every Monday, we'll have Teddy on Twitter at Teddy_covers, myself on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts. Guys, the coupon code Teddy999 at checkout, sportsmemo.com. 1 year, all access, $1,000 off, good for the next 24 hours. We will be back with Andrew McGinnis talking Tuesday, NHL from a betting perspective. So come back and join us, guys. Best of luck with your bets until then.